And in 2014, there were 69 fatal collisions and deaths in Prince George's County. Last year in 2018, the fatal collisions were reduced to 49. The reason we're here today is to enlist this community's support in a couple of very basic things, and the county executive saw this firsthand. Wearing the seatbelt and not using that device. And those instances we dealt with today were innocuous. People looking to that device for map coordinates or directions. People responding to a quick phone call. People verifying that they're in the right place. These devices have become such a part of our life that we don't realize that we rely on them the way we do. And while it might be innocuous to pick that up if you're standing in the kitchen, it might be innocuous to pick that up if you're in the office. When you're traveling in a vehicle, you're traveling several hundred feet a second. And roadway conditions can change, and they can change too quickly for you to react to them and avoid that collision. And then if the bad thing does happen, studies have demonstrated time and time again, wearing that seatbelt will reduce injury and it will save lives. And those young people that we continue to pray for at Duval, again, their injuries could have been mitigated, those in the back seats, if they had just been wearing those seatbelts. That's the whole message today. So as the Prince George's County Police Department continues to work in initiatives such as taking traffic hazards off the road, such as arc light, as the weather changes and those of you who like to ride motorcycles are going to come out and enjoy those motorcycles on our roadways, we're asking for additional time and attention from this community. Wear that seatbelt, do not pick that device up, and then be hyper vigilant when it comes to traveling down these roadways. Obey those posted speed limits. One of the concerns is we see driving behavior on Branch Avenue. We see driving behavior on 301. We see driving behavior on Pennsylvania Avenue or Indian Head Highway that is similar to the driving behavior on 495 or 295. Those are very different roadways, ladies and gentlemen. And again, it demands a different type of driving. And I know that we collectively can rely on this community to support our efforts to make us all safer by, again, wearing that seatbelt, always, always, always. Make sure your children, and let's play it the other way, kids, make sure your parents are wearing those seatbelts. That will always work in my experience. My daughter does that to me from time to time too. And then please, nothing is that pressing. Nothing is that pressing that it can't wait until you pull over. If that device rings, if it vibrates, if you got a ringtone, whatever it's doing, let that sit until you can bring that vehicle to a stop. And lastly, bringing that vehicle to a stop does not mean at a red light. Being on that device at a red light is hazardous as well. It may delay you moving with traffic. It may mean someone's not paying attention, collides with your vehicle. So at a red light is not a safe place to use that device. So there I'm going to conclude. I'm going to thank this community for the way it continues to rise to our requests to make us all safer and support the men and women of public safety across all of Prince George's County. And it's my absolute privilege to invite my partner in all of this. And again, she was out there with me today on the streets talking to our community, our county executive, Angela Alsobrooks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We want to just thank you for coming out today, and I certainly want to thank the chief for being here and the state's attorney. We are here on one agenda, and that is to help our community know that their safety is so important to us. We are here really quite simply what drew our attention to this issue. And this is one, as the chief has indicated, has gone on since 2015, but there is something about the death of a child, I think, that changes all of us. And so as we ended 2018 with the deaths of Alexander, Rosalie, and Isaac, it was really inescapable that something different had to happen. And as if it wasn't enough for us to end the year with the tragic losses, we started 2019 and saw the death of the 5 children who were killed as well. And so we know that it is time for us to change our behavior on the road. That really quite simply is what this is all about. As the chief has indicated, we've enforced traffic laws. In fact, I went to the chief after the death of the 3 children on December 28th and said, we have to do more. I would like for our presence to be known and be felt, to make those arrests, to make sure that individuals who are driving while intoxicated, those who are speeding, and who are otherwise really putting the lives of others in danger, we want it to stop. But we know that we can't change the fatalities that we've seen without the cooperation and the input of our community. This is something that must be done by our community. There are certain matters that cannot be resolved completely in the courthouse or at the police station. They will be resolved through education and behavior changes in our community, and this is just one of those instances. As the chief mentioned, we had an opportunity to go out today and to conduct traffic stops, and it really was really notable that all of the people that we stopped today felt that they were doing something that was a matter of a second. I was just taking a second to call into my job and to find out the location where I should be. I was just taking a second to pick up the phone rather than to hit the hands-free button on my car. Someone who said, oh, just by a second, I just happened to pick the phone up. Well, it only takes a second for an awful tragedy to occur. And we've seen this time and time again. And so we want our residents to understand, when you have that second to make the decision, please make a decision that is a safe one. The decision to put on your seatbelt, and the decision to make sure that every person in your car has on a seatbelt. We have long since moved from the days where it was safe to ride in the back seat without a seatbelt. That is not the case. The students at DeVal thought that this was true, and this is not true. So we need every person to have on a seatbelt. For those to be careful to make sure not only are you not driving intoxicated, but let's just be honest about it. You make sure, please, that others don't get in the car who are intoxicated either, that we are not speeding, that we're really just following, going back to basics. And so this is really an effort today, an education effort, to make sure that we're just saying it just takes a second to be safe. But the deaths of these children, I think, really do call for all of us to re-examine our behavior once again and to do something that is very different. So again, I want to thank the chief for their efforts in terms of enforcing. I want to thank the state's attorney for the work that she is doing as well to educate others and to make sure that the office is prepared to prosecute those who are imperiling lives. And now I'll turn it over to our state's attorney, Aisha Braveboy.
Thank you so much, Madam County Executive, and also Chief Stawinski. It's a pleasure to be here today. You know, my office is responsible for prosecuting at-fault drivers in the types of cases that we're talking about this morning. And I can tell you that I meet with families of victims, and those are the most difficult meetings that I have. Because in an instance, and in the case that the county executive was talking about towards the end of 2018, in an instance, a mother and father lost all of their children. You know, again, my job is to prosecute, and we will do so, but we also have a responsibility to save lives. And about roughly a third of the accidents are caused by drivers who are impaired, primarily by the use of alcohol, but oftentimes there are also other drugs present in the system. And so what we also know is that people are taking risks knowingly by drinking and driving. And we simply must say, do not drink and drive. In addition to that, what we also know is that in some of the accidents, perhaps even if the accident could not have been prevented, the fatality could have been prevented if the individuals were appropriately and properly restrained, adults and children. And as the county executive mentioned, we owe it to our children. We owe it to them to just put on their seatbelt or put them in a car seat. These are simple things that people can do to save lives in our county. And so on April 27th, which is a Saturday, we're kicking off a countywide Drive Focus, Sober, and Safe campaign at the Southern Regional Technology and Recreation Center from 9:30 to 1 p.m. We will have demonstrations there. We will have experts that will talk about how we prosecute these cases, and also insurance companies and others involved in the process, the medical examiner's office, to talk about what they see when individuals are hurt by traffic accidents. And I have to say, and this may sound very graphic, but if you don't put on your seatbelt, and this has occurred unfortunately, people are often ejected from vehicles, and oftentimes their bodies and limbs are severed. So if you can just imagine how devastating it is for a family not only to lose a loved one, but then not to be able to have an open casket because of the condition of the body. So people, we have got to do better. And so these are, just simple things that people can do. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink and drive. Wear your seatbelt. And think before you pick up your phone. You don't need your phone that moment. You can wait. And so I appreciate the county executive for inviting me to join her today. I appreciate the police chief as we work together to investigate and to hold individuals accountable. But again, our goal is to save lives. Thank you.
And I'm going to close the presentations with a personal plea from me to my community. You see standing behind me the women and men who do this on your behalf every day. 3 of them were injured in 210 during enforcement operations just last year. I'm asking the community, when you see these officers or troopers or sheriffs, whomever it may be, engaged in a traffic stop, I'm asking the community to please move over. Give them a wide berth. Let them do their work. When those officers or troopers or sheriffs are injured, that's one less person that we have out there trying to make a difference on your behalf. And again, this community is always responsive to our requests for their support. And again, on the behalf of the men and women that I worry about every day, you see vehicles such as this, you see a police car, you see the damage. These things occur to us as well. And so please, 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 when you see those officers out there engaged in this work, move over, slow down, let them do their work, making you safe. And with that, I'm going to conclude and turn it back over to Ms. Donlin.
Any questions for the chief? Anyone up here? An executive, state's attorney?
On the buoy crash, are there any updates with that? With any
The buoy?
the ramp that
Yeah. That, according to the state's attorney, is still under investigation and there are no new updates. Anyone else? Kids at Duval?
So we are pleased to report that they are still recovering. Their condition remains serious, but we're seeing progress and we're keeping track of that progress, and we're encouraged by the state of affairs today.
Could you explain these 2 cars?
So again, they're just examples of collisions that have occurred on our roadway. The police car and the citizen's car, both examples of the kind of collisions that we must address daily. But again, those instances where our officers and the community are coming to harm, really just to drive home the point. And it can happen to anybody, which is why we particularly wanted to have a police car out here. It happens to us too, folks.
Right.
Please.
So I thank you for asking the question, because the other point is that we have given the same message that we've given to the public, we've given to everyone in county government. Because there are a good number of vehicles that are driven by county employees, and we want you to know that we are leading by example, and that we have really sent the same messages to our employees about distracted driving and about the other rules of the road, that we want them to comply and to make sure that all of us are driving safely. And so that's why these 2 vehicles are important as well, to display the fact that this can happen to anyone, absolutely anyone. Yeah. So we were successful in having the additional speed cameras on Route 210. Those are mobile cameras, and what we like about that is sometimes when drivers realize that we are fixed in a fixed location, it causes them to only change their behavior for so long as they're in that fixed location. And so we will be moving those cameras now up and down Route 210. But as I indicated, it's not just the speed cameras. We want people to know we are dead serious about this, or very serious, I should say. And so you'll see the increased enforcement. The department's already been doing this work. And that's the other message, is we're educating, but we're also enforcing the traffic laws. And so for anyone who has been stopped, know that we are out there, and we're really vigilant, and we're going to make sure that we're enforcing these traffic laws so that we prevent the fatalities that we've seen.
I'd like State's Attorney Brayboy to repeat the enforcement that's coming up on April 27th. And I also want to know to accuse the Winsky, what is the penalty for someone going texting and then stop just for that?
Okay, so on April 27th, which is a Saturday, we're launching the Drive Focused, Sober, and Safe campaign. at the Southern Regional Recreation and Technology Center in Oxon Hill from 9:30 to 1 p.m.
Can we be pulled over for texting and driving?
So again, Maryland is a hands-free state. You're not to have that device in your hands at any point while you're in control of a vehicle, which is why I talked to a couple of people stopped at red lights today, and that can precipitate a traffic stop. But again, this is the education piece. We're asking for our community to pay careful attention, to take an additional moment to prepare for driving, to wear that seatbelt, to make sure everybody in that vehicle is seatbelted, so that you don't have to interact with a police officer at all. And that's what it really matters, when we can have people traveling around our roadways safely, and our officers can deal with those individuals who might be impaired, who pose a greater threat than someone who just happens to take a second to look for directions. Those are the kinds of things that these men and women need to be focused on for the community safety.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
We really appreciate it.
We do appreciate it, everybody.
Everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get we'll get a group hug, right?